Hey everyone, Happy New Year. It's Stephen Glicker from Roll from Combat, and I am here just to talk about the upcoming release of the Dungeons and Dragons 2024 edition because it is 2024, and supposedly, according to the leak at PAX, the Player's Handbook is coming out in 5 months, maybe even less, but it's supposed to be coming out at the end of May. And which I've said on my show a couple of times, I believe that is actually accurate. And because I said I thought that date was accurate, there have been some rumors going around that people think that WoTC is perhaps gaslighting everyone and their playtest isn't a true playtest. I actually believe the playtest is a true playtest, and I actually want to explain how on earth they're able to still do a playtest now and still have the book come out in May. Now, I'm going to explain this to you because I realize not everyone understands how publishing works, because I mentioned this on my live show, which is weekly, Wednesday, and tomorrow, in fact, if you're watching this, you can see me with Justin Alexander, the creator of this, is going to be on the show tomorrow. But I'm going to explain to you how I think they're doing this, because I've been thinking about this quite a bit, and obviously I publish my own books, and this is how I would do it. If I had to put out hundreds of thousands of books, and I still wanted to have it make a May deadline, and yet I still had changes to it. And I've spoken to a couple of people of WoTC, and what they said at the PAX Unplugged talk, there was little hints of what they were saying. I don't think they realized they were saying it. And again, just how I understand how publishing works. So this is a copy of a proof of one of my own books. And so the way books work, for those who aren't familiar with publishing, is that everything is printed in what's called signatures, and I just wanted to show you. So this is a proof that I got from my upcoming book, World of Battle Zoo, Indigo Isles, which you can order now, the actual PDF and, the PDF and the Foundry module is out now, and it has tons of stuff, 10 new ancestries, 10 new races, 15, 20 new dragons, like 300 pages of fun goodness. Anyhow, what you see here, this is a signature. So the books are printed in signatures. Okay, so these are 16 pages. So signatures are traditionally 16 pages each. And you can also make, with modern technologies, used to always be 16 pages. And that's why sometimes if you see older books, they'll have just like blank pages at the end, because it has to be 16-page signatures. So all books have to be divisible by 16. And sometimes they just had extra pages. That's also why we put ads at the end of our books, things like that, just to fill it up. So today you can actually make signatures as small as 4 pages, 8, or 12. But all books need to be divisible by one of those numbers. So like you always have to have an even number of pages, always. So with that being said, so this is another signature, 16 pages here. What they can do, because I looked at it, so here's my book, and it's like, here's all the signatures, and you can see all the signatures. They can print these ahead of time. So what they can do, and I believe this is what they're doing, because they kind of sort of said this, and I was talking to some of my friends at WoTC at Gen Con, and they were talking about looking at the proofs. I believe that they have pre-printed a lot of these signatures ahead of time. And what you can do is, so this book has, I don't know how many signatures this is, and we'll say 20. There's like 20 signatures in this book approximately. You can pre-print ahead of time rules that are done, these signatures, okay? You could pre-print these signatures and just store them in the warehouse. And then they said that they were still working on those last 3 classes, I believe. And imagine you just have like these signatures of those last classes. You can then send these to the printing plant and have them print these up later. And then they can just, when it's all said and done, they take it, they bind it, and they stitch it. And binding and stitching, that many books is maybe a month, maybe a little less. It goes pretty fast. So the hardest part is actually the printing of the signatures. And not the hardest part, but you have to assemble everything and have it assembled. So they could have worked closely with their printers to have everything ready to go. Because one of the biggest issues is that I've been hearing through the pipeline is that they have to print a lot of books. Okay. And I've talked to at least the printers I use and printers I know. the most amount of books they can print, and they print mostly these types of books, like, role-playing books. The most amount of books they can print is maybe 90,000 books, maybe 100,000 at most. And that really just has to do with the size of the plant, the size of the printers, and also the amount of space they have, because these printing plants have a ton of space. And they have other projects, so they need to be able to store not only the amount of paper and other books and other signatures for assembly. They have to they have to hold everyone's. And in fact, this happened with when Paizo sold out of their core rulebook a year ago. They called up their printer, which is Regent, and they just said, look, we need you to print as many as you can. How much paper do you have? And they literally printed up whatever they had in stock in terms of paper, because it can take a couple weeks or a couple months to get the amount of paper you need. So this isn't something you can just do. Okay, you can't just like call up the plant and say, okay, we need to print up 200,000 books, go. No, it's like, no, we need to print up 200, 300,000 books, and then you have to spend a long time coordinating, getting the paper, getting all the stock in, getting everything, organized. Then what they have to do is then they print up these proofs, they send these proofs to WoTC, and this is actually something I know because I spoke to people, is that I was talking to this friend of mine, and I asked them if they work remotely now, and they said, yeah, they do work remotely, except that they do have to come into the office to approve the proofs. And what they do is they actually sit there and look at these. These are the actual proofs, and then they go through page by page. Everyone stands around and like literally just marks up the proofs to make sure everything is correct. And at the time at Gen Con, they were telling me that they were doing the Vecna book. And we know the Vecna book is coming out as part of 2024. So I'm thinking they were printing it all together. There's actually more information I can't talk about, but I believe they accidentally told me that, well, they were, they finished up the Vecna book and that they were looking it over. I believe that they also had a lot of information that they knew that were not going to change, and that, I don't know, lore information, background information, things like that, things on the races. They could have kept that all the same, and they could have printed that now. And then at the very end, everything they were play testing, they could finish up those files, send it over, print up those signatures, get those proofs very quickly, because it's a big difference between going through this many proofs and this many proofs. Like, this is just two, you can do these very quick. So they do it, they go through the proofs, everything's approved, they print up the final signatures, they bound the books, they ship them, ta-da, and you get them in to the stores on time. I don't think there's much time left. The amount of time it takes for me to print a book, bind it, ship it, I mean, my stuff's in China, but things are going pretty fast now after like all the shipping crisis is pretty much over. I can get my books over here in about 3 to 4 weeks. So the really biggest part is actually warehousing them and then distributing them. So we'll say 3 to 4 months. But, Hasbro's Hasbro, and I'd say they're probably a little bit more efficient than I am. And also just seeing how quickly they're able to reprint the deck of many things and get that into stores, and they did that pretty quick. I think that was like 6 weeks or so. They were able to like reprint that book and get it into stores. It's not in stores, I think, yet. I think it's about to get in stores, but let's just say, I'll say a 3-month lead time. We'll just be comfortable. So the book has to be pretty much finalized and done no later than the end of February from the point of view. So I will say that if we see any playtest material after February, or even like I'd say in February, then maybe that's not going to be in the book. And I'd be kind of surprised if we're going to see any playtest material of anything past February. If we start seeing stuff in March or April, there's zero chance that that book is coming out in May. But I strongly believe that date was real. I strongly believe that May is something they're going for, because that is an excellent date. Okay, it's the beginning of the con season. People are out of school. You get a lot of buildup. I think we're going to know pretty soon, because they're going to have to start talking about this date and start, getting some excitement going. And May is not that far along, okay? I mean, it sounds like it's far. It's actually 5.5 months? Wait, February, March, April, May. 4.5 months away. That's pretty quick. So we're going to find out if that date is correct or not. I'm saying yes. I'm saying that date is real because I don't think they're going to wait till Gen Con. And more importantly, I'll tell you why I think the date is real. They had other dates for other books, and they seem to all be accurate. So you can't release, or there's no point in releasing the adventure before the player's handbook. So if the player's handbook doesn't come out in May, then everything is held up. So you have to have that book come out first and then everything follow. So if the player's handbook doesn't come out until August, they're not going to come out with the adventures until September, or maybe they'll come out all at the same time. But I don't think they will. I think they're going to stick to the deadline and the dates that were leaked at PAX. I could think that maybe, just maybe, they were playing their cards safe. That makes no sense. But you know what I'm talking about, is that they were just being very careful with the dates after the debacle of the Deck of Many Things. And they just wanted to really double and triple check that they can make those dates, because they were still at the time of PAX 6 months or 5 months out. So they wanted to just really make sure those dates are good before they committed to them, because obviously I don't think the books are completely done. They're not printed, so they wanted to double check, triple check, make sure that they're going to get all the books in the stores and books in time. The other books, the books like, the Vecna book, I know for a fact they were proofing that in August. So I think all those other books are done. Those books are done, they're printed, and they're sitting in warehouses somewhere. The, obviously, Player's Handbook, the DM Guide, the Monster Manual, I think the Player's Handbook is going to come out in May. I do think what would probably come up after that, probably the Monster Manual and the DM's Guide. I'm not sure. I don't know what the order is they usually put them out, but obviously Player's Handbook's always first, and that's their best seller. But anyhow, hopefully that illuminates everyone as to the process of how books are printed and how they're able to get this done in time, and whether or not WoTC is gaslighting everyone and they're not going to actually put anything that hasn't been in these public playtests into the book. I think they're going to do everything, because I think they're going to get so much slack if they didn't put in all the cool stuff with the monk in the new book. Like, how could they do that? So I have a feeling that they're going to do it. They're going to actually get it done. And it's actually not that hard. They just need to do a lot of planning. And Hasbro is a big company. And yeah, they've been falling behind and doing a lot of bad things last year. But at the same time, they still know what they're doing, okay? They still put out books. And they, okay, maybe they don't always know what they're doing. You know what I'm getting at. I don't think this one they're going to mess up. I think they're going to be like dotting every I and crossing every T and really making sure, because this Player's Handbook, they only get one chance at it. So they're going to make sure this thing is perfect in every way, shape, and form. Anyhow, we have a lot of content coming out today and this week. So do check out the channel, do like and subscribe. Do check out all of our products at battlezoo.com. There's a sale going on that I believe ends today, 25% off almost everything. Just check it out at battlezoo.com. And otherwise, I'll see you and speak to you later.